Ours is somewhere around 30 degrees. It's much colder. Big difference in the temperature between inside and outside. There's a garage door behind the camera, and there's a garage door behind that target. The bottom of the garage door is that black line you see across the center.
I'm sad for people who are not.
I'd like to point out that you see the light sitting on the floor above the floor. You can see the boats. They are doubled right now. He's now opened the garage. He's going to open it, and then he's going to close it, and you will see the impact to the atmosphere. Okay, this is part one. You'll see what starts to develop within the atmosphere.
Why
Nothing will disappear at this point. Go ahead.
Why are the boats mirrored? I don't. Did I miss that?
Yeah, they are mirrored due to atmospheric. What is it called? Miraging. It's miraging. It.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Paint shop.
Yeah, the concrete had some paint on the floor. Yeah, you can see that in the picture.
No. It would explain why it's so warm on the inside compared to the outside.
Huh?
If it's where they do spray painting, you tend to keep a paint room quite warm.
I don't know what kind of.
What's your point? What's your point of all this? Like, what's the point?
It just means that's why there's such an extreme temperature difference. This is actually kind of cool to watch. I will definitely give you that. And I always give plaudits to people who do experiments, but it's a very extreme. You know, we wouldn't normally expect to see a 30-degree temperature difference between point A and point B, would we?
I think he was asking what Joy's point is, Trust.
Yeah, true point. Sorry, carry on.
That's okay. So you're seeing the impacts right now of the garage door opening behind him. Mind you, that's a 80-meter difference in the distance. So that air is traveling through this factory, and you can see it kind of wafting over the floor and causing all kinds of refractive atmospheric effects, whatever you want to call them. And you see the light doubling. Nothing disappears at this point. The bottom changes here. And in just a few seconds, that garage door behind the target is going to open. It's going to open and close. It's approximately like 3 to 5 seconds, I believe. There it goes. Okay, now the garage door is going to close. Maybe a little more than 3 to 5 seconds. And what did we just see, gentlemen?
Well, the light's still there, isn't it?
Of course, the light's still there, yeah. You just can't see it.
Well,
The bottom of the boat
curvature.
every so often we can. I don't think it's dropped the light.
This is it. This is it. Flat Earth is real.
Curvature?
Hey, Tony.
It's not due to curvature.
Tony, can I ask you a question? You really are a very up-and-coming new flat earther, right? It seems to me like you're almost like on the cusp of being one of the greatest flat earthers to be around. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
Did the boats disappear from the bottom up, gentlemen? Is the light visible, or is it not visible due to atmospheric effects only?
I'm sorry, Brandon.
I don't know.
No, Brandon, I asked you a fucking question.
All right.
I'm sorry, who's speaking to me? I think you said the wrong name, but what?
Yeah, I asked you. You're very
you asked somebody named Tony.
motherfucker.
You asked somebody named Tony, Brant. You didn't ask me.
How the fuck do you feel about it?
If you don't mind, we're going to talk about
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the subject of my visit here. Sorry, maybe I'll answer that question for you later, Brant. Not really interested.
No, hold the fuck
Don't
on.
worry, that guy's an idiot. Don't worry, Brandon. Just keep going.
The answer is no.
No, I mean, it's difficult really to see what's going on, but what we can conclude from this is that, different layers of temperature, create different refractive effects, which we knew.
Yeah, but in this image or in this video, it's mirroring. So you're not seeing the bottom of something disappear. You're seeing the top of something mirroring.
Really?
Yeah, mirroring the bottom of it.
Here,
So-
let me do it in
And the
fast
light-
forward. Maybe
the
your
lights
eyes
were-
didn't catch it. Here we go. I'm gonna do it in fast forward.
You can do
Watch
it
the
as
bottom of
many
the
times as
boats.
you like. You can do as many times
Watch
as you
the
like. but
bottom
if
of the
you're gonna-
boats. Watch the light. Watch the bottom of the boats and
Why
watch
don't
the
you
light.
listen, Brendan?
Bottom
Brendan, why
up.
don't you listen? I can see without you talking.
Yeah, it isn't
Right? You asked
covering
the
it.
question. Don't be
It
a
isn't
jackass.
covering the bottom.
It's not
wiping
covering.
out.
Do you see the bottom?
See the top
It-
mirrored.
We have a bottom up
It's
bottom.
wiping.
Do you see the light?
It's
Yeah, but-
wiping. Yes,
So
I
what?
do see the light, and the light has not moved at all.
But
Do
so
you
what?
see the light right now?
No,
So what?
but when it flashes, I do see
So
it.
what?
and it's
Is that
not-
a no? I don't see the light.
Right, hold on a minute. Let's get this really clear. Do you see the light? Move it.
I
Listen.
don't right
listen,
now. Here, let me pause it.
Listen. Listen
Do
to
you
the
see
question.
the light?
Hello. You haven't heard the question. Do you see the light moving up and down?
Yes, because it's
No,
being
you
obstructed
don't. You
from
do
the
not.
bottom up by the
Show me-
atmosphere. Just
show
as
me-
these boats. Oh, you asked me a question, wanted me to answer, but now you won't shut the fuck up.
No, because you're lying. Show
I
me.
am.
Show
I'm
me.
lying. Do you see?
Yes,
Do you see
yes.
the light right
Show
now?
me where the light is in a lower
Do you see
position.
the light right now?
No.
Thank you.
Right.
Do you see the bottom of these boats right now?
Let me ask you again, Brandon. Do we see the light moving up and down? You said yes. Show me where the light is in a lower position to its starting position. Away you go.
I'm sorry, a lower position to its starting position? What does that have to do
Being
with
able
anything?
to see it does not mean it's in a lower position.
This is an obfuscation and a red
No, it's
herring.
You
not.
never said that.
It is.
It's
You
not
never said
because I'll
that,
tell you
Jim.
why it's not. I'll tell you why it's not.
That's a
because
straw
we-
man.
Listen, we see the light disappear. Then I see the light flash back on again. Then I see it flash off again. Then I see it flash back on again. All of those times I see it, it's in the same position. It isn't moving down and being obstructed. It goes on and off.
That is very perceptive of you, meaning it's just the atmosphere moving up and down, blocking the light, which is exactly what we have been saying happens
that's
for a
ridiculous,
long time.
because-
And that's exactly what you see in this photo. You see the
No, it
bottom
isn't. It
boats
isn't.
obstructed.
That is not what you see in this.
And
in
not
this
the
image
top.
at all. You're lying. You don't see
Yeah.
that light move.
You know, people can see, don't you, Jem? You know, they can see, they have eyes and they can watch the
and
video that I just
show
showed
me
over
where
and
the
over
light
again.
is lower. Show me where the light is lower than its
we go.
starting position.
There's
Go
the light.
ahead.
There we go. It's gone. There's the bottom of the boat.
Again, for the
You see how it
fifth
comes
time,
from the bottom up?
for the
Bottom
fifth
up.
time, Brandon.
Bottom up.
Time
Bottom up.
pretending that the
Light
light.
gone. Light
Okay.
there. Light gone. Light there.
Okay.
Light gone.
Doing
Light
that,
there.
dude. Stop talking,
Frightened,
man.
frightened of me,
Beautiful,
aren't
Brandon,
you?
beautiful.
Frightened to hear it. If you're saying that is moving, that what we're seeing of the light is being obstructed, it's being obstructed by the ground, then you should be able to show me that. You should be able to show me it at least half or partially obstructed by the ground. I
By
should
the
be able to
ground.
see.
Who said anything about the ground, Jim?
Listen! I should be able to see the light moving up and down. And you going, you see the light, you don't see the light. You see the light, you don't see the light. That is not the light moving up and down. That is the light being turned on and off, or who knows what's happening. It isn't moving
You
up
almost
and
said
down.
obstructed.
It isn't moving up and down. It definitely is not being obstructed by the floor. Definitely not.
Not the floor, Jem. The atmosphere, you dumb shit.
Well,
Jem.
how does a clear atmosphere obstruct something? Go ahead.
Watching
You
it
just
right
witnessed
now.
it.
How does that work?
You're
We
watching it.
demonstrated it for
A
you, Jem.
completely see-through atmosphere
Unbelievable, Jim.
obstruct
You're
something.
delusional.
Yeah, that's
Jem, he just
saying that
demonstrated.
see-through things can obstruct something. That's fucking delusional.
You're watching it, Jem.
You just saw it, dude.
Jem-
With your
Jem.
own eyes, dude.
Jim, actually, I think it's worse than that because, yeah, he says they're supposed to be obstructing it from the bottom up, but all that's happening in any portion, anytime that anything's gone or not visible, it's because the top half is literally being mirrored to it, and so it's not
No
that,
shit.
yeah, so mirroring is not is not something disappearing from the bottom up. That's not
Right.
the same thing at all.
Can you see the bottom of the boats?
If you can see the top half of a building instead of the bottom of a building, then you're not going to be confused on what's going on there. You know what I
Are
mean?
the
You're gonna say,
bottom
"Oh,
of the
it's
boats
refraction."
obstructed
That's
by
not the
atmosphere right now,
observations that we
Kosho?
see. We never see that. We see the
Are the
top half
bottom of the boats
building or
obstructed
boat
by
being
atmosphere?
obstructed
We see this all the
completely.
time,
That's it. No
Kosho.
mirroring.
No, how can they
We
be
see the
obstructed
mirroring
by
all the time,
atmosphere?
Kosho. All the time.
How can they be obstructed by atmosphere? Where's that idea coming
You're
from?
watching it, Jem.
No,
You're looking at it happen.
no, I'm
He's
not. I'm
calling
just saying
mirroring.
something not very clear.
I've put some.
What?
evidence-
Oh, now it's not clear enough to see it.
Look,
put
look,
some-
it's all blurry and horrible. Of course it is. It
Are
was all
you
the way
kidding
through.
me? That's like excuse number 5. You're 0 for 5.
Well,
calling mirroring
I said two things. I've had to blunder through your deliberate obfuscation of the fact that you know full well that light doesn't move at all, and that's why you were
anything about the light moving, Jem.
That's why you were desperately trying to not respond to the fact that we can see that light
You
never
guys got
moves.
Nothing. Does anybody have a good reason for this, or does anybody?
I already said it to you, man.
Yes,
Person and acknowledge that this is
a
bottom-up
refractive
obstruction.
effect. It's a refractive effect caused by the difference in temperatures in the atmosphere. So
No
what?
shit.
Yeah, and when this
What do
happened,
you mean
when
no
this
shit?
happened-
Oh my god! You discovered something that everybody already knew about and had been talking about for years. Well done.
Yeah,
So
when
you
this
knew
happened-
that the atmosphere can block something from the bottom up already,
This
Jem.
happened-
That's
No,
what you're
the
telling me. You already
atmosphere
knew that.
can't. The atmosphere can't. You're talking
Well,
nonsense.
then what's blocking the bottom of the boats and the light, Jem?
the top half of the boats, man. The top
thing
half
is-
of the image.
Right. Nothing's
That's what I'm
blocking
saying.
That
the
is
light.
so
When this
stupid
happens-
what you're
when
saying
this
right
Nothing
happens-
is
now.
blocking the light at any
What
point.
caused the top half of the
Listen, yeah,
boats
when this-
to
when this
block
happens in
the bottom
reality-
half of the boats?
Everybody
When this happens in
talking at the
reality,
same
you
time,
see it
nobody
clearly.
can hear anything.
What caused the top half of the
When you
boat
stop- when you
to
stop-
block the bottom half of the boat?
Stop doing that.
Well, answer him and he'll
Stop
stop
Did it
doing
answering.
fold
Yeah,
over?
No, listen,
Did it-
listen to his point instead of just repeating yourself, man. Whenever you see these observations, you see any observation at all, like the CN tower or fucking any tower, any ship, any boat, you would see clearly if it was mirroring. If it was the mirror image of the object that was masking the bottom of the boat, making it disappear, that effect would be seen clearly. That's not what's happening in any of the images that we see. We don't see any mirroring at all. We see things being obstructed completely from the bottom half or the bottom or whatever portion of it.
Nonsense.
There is no mirroring going on there.
There's
So
all,
showing us
there's
something
mirrored
mirrored
so
and
many
hiding
times.
behind
That
that
is the
is not
biggest load of
image.
bullshit I've ever heard. And no, and not in all observations is there mirroring, but in a lot of observations where the bottom of something is blocked, this is exactly what's happening. It's mirrored. We have been talking about that for years,
Almost
Coach.
every
You
single
fucking
image
know
I've
that.
ever seen.
And
Or
what
you-
I don't
Every
get,
single
what I don't
observation
get with
is due
these-
to this.
what
But
I don't
are
get
the
with
bottom
these-
of the boats and the light blocked in this, Kosho? Can you see them?
What I don't get with these absurd observations.
Kosho won't
that
answer
you
either.
make- What is
Rumpus will admit
is
it.
that
Rumpus
you
is more
know-
of a man than Kosho,
Boy,
Jem,
This
and
is
everyone
the
else in
most
this room right
bullshit.
now.
Brandon,
Argument, man.
shut up! Stop ranting. If you want a
Well, the name of the
conversation,
show is Ranty. I mean,
if you want it, well, I'm sorry, I'm not on Ranty's show at the moment.
you are, actually.
Well, I didn't know I was. I'm in my server.
Well, I told you, remember, that I was coming in here to record
And you
today
can
and show you
record
this
it.
footage.
Well, that just because you're sticking it on Ranty's show doesn't mean we get to work to your set of rules, does it? Don't be a dickhead.
I was just joking around, Jem. Go ahead, ask your question.
My question is, and this is why I think this idea is so absurd, because if this actually happened, if things did disappear from the bottom up, just as a consequence of distance, then we would be seeing this happening all of the time. And we don't see it happen ever. It's not part of our everyday experience, and people would understand that it was. They would have to account for it in certain circumstances. So it's ridiculous.
Well, you're at odds with the world's foremost expert in refractive effects over distance, Rumpus. I just want you to know that you guys are
no,
out
I'm
there
not.
saying
I'm
different
not.
things to different people at this point.
And,
Rumpus
and the
does
other point
disagree
I
with
would
what you're
make
saying,
is
man.
that you
Rumpus
guys,
does. Yes, Rumpus
guys-
admits that this happens.
you guys
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
just happening.
establish,
It's happening all the
hang on, you guys trying to establish this idiotic idea over a short distance like this. I don't know what this is, maybe 20 feet. We've seen this
240 feet, Jem.
We've seen this done over tabletops. or over, Nathan Oakley's book 10 feet away. If this was actually happening in the way you guys claim it is, it would be part of our,
you're talking.
It would be
out
part
your
of our.
ass.
It would be part of our everyday experience.
Yeah, it
and
is,
it's not.
Jam. You're talking out your ass.
It's
Yeah,
not.
you are.
Look, I
Yes,
can
it
look
is.
to the other side of the room. I can lie down on the floor, and I see everything. I don't
Yeah,
have
that's
to.
not the same
the bottoms
thing.
of things
Yeah.
aren't
Not
missing.
the same thing, Jam.
That's nonsense. It
Not
is
the
the
same
same
thing,
thing. It's specifically the claim that you guys are making.
No, it's
this
not,
is
Jam.
specifically. Well, this is things on the floor in this video with a camera close to the floor. So explain to me how that would be different from me lying on the floor looking at objects. So where you go.
What angles are you
Yeah,
subjected
if
to
you
looking
do
up
that-
into space, Jim? You're subjected to smaller angles of looking across a plane Earth rather than looking up. You're not subjected to any angles.
Who said anything about
Duh.
looking into? Who said
So,
anything
when you
about?
look up, Jim,
Hello.
what you look
Who
up to,
said-
buddy?
Hello.
When you look
Have
up
I
to,
got
buddy-
to mute you so I can ask the
Yeah,
question
buddy, you're
again?
just a goofball.
Right. Okay. I'll ask the question again because you're answering a question that some unknown person asked about looking into space. I didn't ask a question about looking into space. My question was about lying on the floor looking at objects the other side of the room. Travis says that that's a regular occurrence, that things usually disappear in this way. Or he's making the claim now, I think, that that's different in some way than what we're seeing in this video. So go ahead, Travis,
Yeah.
and explain
Okay,
how
thanks.
it's different.
Okay, so when you first made your statement that if you were to do something like this, you would not observe the same phenomenon. And I was assuming you were talking about maybe doing it in your living room, where you're not going to have the distance required to get this kind of effect. So when you're looking at what Pebbles in the Pond has done, his distance is great enough so that the angle at which he is viewing, you even asked the question to Brandon, why are the bottoms of the boats mirrored, right? So you saw that effect. Right?
So you are now all of the flat Earth observations that are done over tabletops and Nathan Oakley's book that was about 16 feet away or something. You're saying that those are false now. They couldn't have been real at that distance.
No.
So they can be real at that distance.
It depends on what.
So
the
everything
claim
you
is.
just
Jim,
said was completely
settle
pointless.
Settle down, Jim. Settle down. It's okay. It depends on what the claim is. What was Nathan's claim about the book? What was someone else's claim about
the objects disappear from the bottom up due to
You have
distance.
to take each. Yeah, you have to take
Right.
each claim.
So are you
with
so
its
so
presentation.
did Nathan Oakley's book disappear from the bottom up due to distance?
I don't remember.
Right. That's handy for you, isn't it?
No,
What
it
about
just
the
means
one-
I don't.
What about
it
the
just means
coin
I
on the
don't memorize
tabletop?
everything.
Do you see the coin on the tabletop? Do you see that one? Is that for real?
Everything you're talking about is
Maybe-
irrelevant to this
Three-
right now.
3 foot,
Yeah.
3 foot
It's-
tabletop.
Again,
just sounds
that's
like
why.
he's running
right.
less
Thank
away
you,
from
Brandon.
Well,
it.
we've
Right.
dealt with this. This is
Jim,
a refractive effect
do
caused
you
by the
really-
difference
do you
in air
really think,
temperature.
Jim,
Very simple.
Jim,
It's
do you really
been
think-
answered. You've not discovered
Do you
anything
really
new
think
and brilliant, I'm
somebody
afraid.
was turning the light off and on.
Jim,
It's a
You ran
refractive
somebody
effect
from-
showing disappearance from bottom
The,
up.
the
in an
light is
inferior
clearly
mirage.
going on and off, and it's definitely not
Yeah,
moving
okay.
up and down.
So
and
the
it
mirror-
should
the
be
mirror
if it's
effect-
being obstructed.
The mirror effect, you can agree, is caused by temperature difference between the ground and the air coming through, right? If the ground is warm,
Probably.
awesome.
I can't
so
really
let's say
agree
you
that,
increase
no.
you increase more.
Because there's we have no temperature.
Let me finish.
Because
Let's
we
say,
have
let
no.
me finish. So let's
Well,
say we increase.
Well,
let
you asked me
finish.
a question.
I'm not
You
done
asked me a
stating my-
question.
I'm not done. You answered it already, and now I'm on to the next.
No, I
So
didn't.
listen.
No,
yes,
I
you did. You
didn't.
said probably. You said probably. That was an answer. So at the
Right,
end of the
well-
day, listen. We increase more.
No, my answer is probably. However, we don't have any temperature data to be able to draw those conclusions from.
You
we?
don't need
The
any
shame
temperature
of,
data.
It's a shame about that, but
You
know,
don't
it's
need any
it's a
temperature
flat
data.
Earth. It's a flat Earth thing, so we expect it to be bodged and
You
incomplete.
don't
Oh,
need
Can I
any
hear?
temperature
By the way,
data.
the
repeated
flat
this
data is
multiple
following.
I
times.
do. Travis, I decide what I need, not you.
Jam,
and I decide.
Jam.
And I think to make the judgment that this is caused by temperature, I need to know the temperature.
I already
it's
told you the
established,
temperature.
Gemma's
It's
established.
30 outside. It's 70 inside. Now
Okay.
you're just making it. That's like excuse number 6.
Hey, can I?
Look, hang on. I need to make this clear, okay? I've said it about 3 times, but I'll say it again. What you've got is some refractive effects caused by the difference in air temperature, okay? No excuses are required. Not 1, not 2, not 6, not any. That's what's happening. That's what I said was happening at the start. That's what I'm still saying is happening. I will continue to say that is what is happening. There are no excuses at all. So keep adding numbers on and pretending that you're getting wins in some way is just you lying.
Refractive effects that cause the bottom of objects and a light to completely be obstructed.
I haven't made 6 excuses. I've given 1 reason.
Bottom up obstruction right here, boys.
Yeah, so you're saying that this is so a difference in air temperature causes bottom up obstruction.
Yep.
That's what
I
he's
don't
clearly
see
said,
bottom
man.
up
Please don't-
obstruction.
What
You
about the
just
boat?
claimed that, and we have repeatedly said that's
So
not
what's
what was
observed,
said.
gentlemen? What's observed, gentlemen, empirically, is there's a temperature change between the surface causing a refraction, right?
That is not observed empirically.
Let me
There are
finish.
no temperature
What's
readings.
observed? Let me finish. What's observed
Gotta be
further?
a troll.
Let me finish, please. What's
Yeah,
observed
Can
further?
I say something?
Let me
Yeah,
finish,
please
please. Let me finish. So what's observed further is an increase in temperature change, therefore a larger increase of mirroring or refraction.
Neither of those
Okay,
things.
to be
are
fair,
see
flat
those-
Earth data, the only thing that's empirically observed is the light, the drawing on the thing,
There's a
and the
reason
lifting.
why the doors open
lifting
a
and
couple
closing
inches
of
to
the-
begin with.
Yeah, hold up, I'm not done.
There's a
Hold
reason why
up,
the
man.
doors open
We
a couple
empirically
inches.
observe the door opening / closing, right? We don't
Listen,
empirically
there's a
observe
reason
the
why-
change in temperature.
There's
We
a
can
reason why they're
infer that.
demonstrating.
There's never no more
There's a
portals.
reason why they're demonstrating the difference between the door being open at a few inches and versus being full open. They want to demonstrate atmospheric effects due to
Sure.
temperature difference.
Yeah, that's fair, but we
So,
can't.
let
We
me
don't
finish.
empirically
Let me
observe
finish. Let me finish. What's
well, you
observed?
interrupted me, bro.
Let me finish. You're not letting me finish, dude. So what's observed is this process of increasing a temperature difference over a flat plane.
See.
When doing so, let me finish.
Well, then
when
get
doing
there.
so, when doing so, we can observe an increase in a mirror effect. That increase in a mirror effect is due to the increase in temperature difference.
Okay, so
The
you're
energy
there.
passing, the
You're there,
energy
yeah.
passing through, which is light, electromagnetic frequency passing through a temperature difference, causing refraction or mirroring effect, or
You're
whatever you
there.
want to call it, or let's call it internal reflection.
Okay, gotta stop talking.
Okay, great. In terms of
But
observing,
percentage,
though, this is a
percentage, it's
video.
not-
The only thing we actually
There's no
observe
point in
is
stating
the
that
stuff
we
that we
don't know
said.
if the temperature's changing or not. Okay.
Yeah,
I've got a real
The temperature is changing. Don't
yeah,
be
but
an
it's
asshole.
obvious it is. I know that. So just
Can I ask a real quick question, please? It's just a
Wise,
second.
if you could please, but then I'd like to.
Yeah, just who produced this video and where on YouTube can we see it?
Well, you'll be able to watch it on my channel to start this show. So it's out there right now. But I will be putting out a
Video.
standalone
That's fantastic.
video. It was
Thank you for
created
answering
by
that.
Pebble in the Pond,
Wise had a
and
follow-up.
I will put it out this evening, so it'll be out there
Do you have
on the Ranty channel.
Wise had a follow-up. Yeah, right. I just stated this. I need you to really listen and really don't prepare some stock argument against this, because it's very idiotic what is happening here. You're showing us an effect, like Jim had said, called mirroring, in which the top half of an image is going to be mirrored to the bottom half, in which case you're not going to see the bottom half. Okay, this is an effect that everyone's aware of. Now, this is not the same effect that we see or that we present. When a glober presents, a glober in this room, I've never seen a glober in this room present something being obstructed from the bottom up, and then that effect being mirroring. They wouldn't. That's not really something that they would show. So this is not relevant when the question is, how do you explain bottom up obstruction? There's no image. Like, I could show you 15,000 obstructed things. None of them are mirroring. So this is completely irrelevant.
Good fallback position. I better not ever see you guys put one image out there with mirroring and say that it's Earth curve. Period.
Who's done that?
Who's done
Red's
that?
rhetoric. Red's rhetoric. Red's rhetoric has done that.
Well, that's a stupid idea. I mean, unless he's saying this is a refractive effect, That's okay. But if you're saying this is the Earth curve and you're showing mirroring, that's kind of irrelevant.
There's no mirroring in any of my images.
There's none. I'll post this GIF again of this ship going over the horizon.
So do you at least acknowledge, Kosho, that atmospherics can cause objects to be obstructed from the bottom up?
I will say specifically mirroring will simply...
Is it mirroring because of the atmosphere?
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Real quick.
No, that's not real quick. You asked your fucking question, and I'm going to answer it.
I didn't ask the question.
I'm going to answer it. Yeah, no, I'm not going to say atmospherics. I'm going to say this one effect, mirroring,
okay,
Kosho,
that is not an effect,
and layer it
Kosho.
upside down over the bottom half of the image.
Kosho,
not
show
obstructing
me
it, but simply replacing the image. So if you had a building and it was doing this, the amount of building would be cut off by the same building upside down.
I think more importantly, Kosho, the most important thing is that if you use a theodolite to measure that angle to the top of the object, it will not be at the correct elevation in the theodolite to correspond to the math on a flat Earth. It will be lowered by the amount that we would expect to see on the curve of the Earth, because the actual top of that object will be lower than where it should be on a flat Earth when you measure that angle.
Guys, you guys got your video. We're going to leave and leave you to it. And you guys can come up with a few more excuses while we're gone.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, why don't you come up with Brandon, while you're at it, figure out an excuse for what makes the sun and the moon set.
You can keep lying and say that we're coming up with excuses when we all gave one single reason throughout.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys this question.
But if you need to mischaracterize that and lie about it, that's
I have a question for you.
Argument.
So what in this demonstration here, it clearly demonstrates the atmospheric effects can hide the bottom of objects. It's clearly displayed there. Now, what Kosho's bringing up is a fair point, because he's talking about having boats disappear past the horizon line. Now, in the globe model, it's equated as a physical barrier. A sagitta, it's an actual hump. Okay, this is what's conflated in your model, correct? You actually have a physical hump that boats are going over, correct?
There is an arc of a curve, and that's what we have.
Yeah, so it's a physical hump, right? That's what you're claiming. It's a physical hump. So listen. You're claiming a physical hump.
No.
What's the boat going over? What's the boat going over?
I don't like that.
What's the boat going over?
Okay, this is really awkward because I don't want to shout. It's late at night in my house.
Don't worry, I'll just keep muting you.
Thanks.
He can't control
all I want
himself.
to say is a hump infers a change in elevation, and I reject that point.
Okay, but don't miss the point that he's making, that your arc of curvature, or whatever you phrased it as, is the physical obstruction. So it's still the same point, whether or not you call it a hump or an arc of curvature.
Words are important because they infer meaning.
I called it a sagitta too. You want to get into semantics? That's not the point. The point
sagitta was a lovely word. I like that.
You're calling it a physical presence here. Okay, it's physical in your world. This is what's obstructing the boat, causing the bottom up. Now, my question to you, gentlemen. Now, I have a video that I've done. I had a guy who had a boat. I said, "Listen, man, drive about 2.5 miles out. I'm going to put my camera about 4 feet off the ground." Now, the waves are about 4 to 5 feet. Now, about 2.5 miles away, if I have my camera positioned level at 4 feet off the ground, and I have waves 4 feet 1 inch, will a boat appear to move downward into this angle as appearing to move over an edge?
Okay.
Of course, if you're...
Thank you.
Of course, if
that's it. Here you go.
I
I don't hear that discussed. I don't hear that acknowledged. Of course it can. So what you guys are trying to negate...
Well, it would depend on what the relation...
Let me finish.
I really hate it when you do this, Data, when you ask questions and then answer them for us. Please don't do that. If you want to make a statement, make a statement. If you want to ask a question, ask a question. Don't confuse the two. It's dishonest. It's dishonest to ask us a question, not wait for the answer, and then say what you think the answer would be.
Can I point out Bearded has been trying to get a word?
So, question, how do you determine the difference of whether or not it's at the angle? How do you determine whether it's at that angle or not? You just agreed that if I had a camera 4 feet off the ground and I had a wave 2.5 miles away and it was 4 feet 1 inch or 4 feet 0.1 inch in height, that any object moving past that point would appear to move downward. Now, my question to you, if that's the case and you acknowledge that angle limitation, how do you distinguish that in any video?
We didn't acknowledge any such thing. You just made all that.
No,
up.
Buddy just said it. Buddy just.
No, I think there's another question.
Buddy just agreed. Listen, anybody listening to this, can take a camera, lay it on the ground, find the center focal.
Go ahead, Trust.
All I was going to say, yeah, you're right. If you've got a good swell on a sea, you can be blocked by swell. I've seen that myself. I used to live by the sea. That's why I don't like taking sort of images from low down, because you can get bits of the ocean flying up, spray, whatever. So why don't you go up to the top of a cliff and do it? You got a nice clear line to the horizon. You get much better observations, and it's a much better method for trying to take these observations. Why make it difficult for yourself?
I've got to keep unmuting the twat.
Sorry.
So you take this observation now, gentlemen. When you take this observation, can you tell me what the apparent convergence or junction is a cause of? Because I'm noticing an apparent effect that's due to our vision and not anything to do with physical Earth curve.
Fed, did you hear my question?
Your question pertaining what?
Okay.
You gave me a response. You gave me a response, but what question was it?
So I said, wouldn't it not be better to take these observations at a higher elevation, like on the top of a cliff? Because you then have a much clearer view to the horizon. You're not going to be obstructed by anything silly.
See, the problem with that is the problem with that is tell me the difference between the convergence on the ground as opposed to being a mountain, because you still have the same convergence happening.
No, I'm just talking about being on a cliff.
No. You still have the apparent
convergence is not able to obstruct objects, though. That's the difference.
Again. And what's causing the convergence?
You cannot obstruct anything with convergence.
Again, what's causing
it may converge to the naked eye, but as soon as you take out a magnification,
what's causing the convergence?
Your inability
bottom up. What's causing the convergence?
Your inability to resolve the detail after a certain point.
No, the convergence is the limitation of angular resolution of your eyes.
That's what I just said. Your inability to resolve the resolution.
So
yes, but as soon as you increase the magnification, you increase. As soon as you increase the magnification, you gain the ability to resolve further detail, and you can see further down that convergence. And the more and more magnification you add, the more and more detail you can resolve into the distance, depending on your magnification, and the further down that resolution is going to go. But when we see objects obstructed, even to the naked eye, you could take out the strongest magnification possible, and the same amount is obstructed. You don't gain any more or less obstruction by changing the magnification with obstruction. That's very different from convergence, right? Like railroad tracks might appear to converge to the naked eye, and you take out your telescope.
We've already seen images of boats being, to the naked eye, appearing to disappear over the edge, brought back by cameras, due to the...
No, we haven't. Never seen that. Never, ever seen that.
Now, gentlemen, most observations when you're showing me of a cruise liner going over is still subjected to this very principle, the convergence, because it's based on the lens and an aperture. It's the same as an eye is.
Obviously,
it has a diffraction limit, and it has a refraction. It's based on refraction with a diffraction limit. It's not stupid. It's repeatable.
It's lunacy, delusional lunacy.
Again, what you're doing is you're claiming something physical when it's optical, and it's easily done and easily proven.
Do you disagree with?
It's really not. It's really not. And when you said that we can bring things back with a zoom camera, that's a lie. It's never ever been done. All we ever see is stuff that's too small to see being zoomed in on so that it's no longer too small to see. If we could actually bring things back, and if this was actually an optical effect, as you're claiming, then with this larger ship, as we zoom in, it should become less and less obstructed. That doesn't happen. That's never happened. You can't show me that in any video anywhere. Obstruction becoming less and less as you zoom in. That's because that's a completely made up piece of flat earth bullshit. So please don't try and pass it off in here without challenge. It's bullshit. Doesn't happen ever. And you've never seen it happen.
Again, so you can take your eye, look at a boat, it will disappear. Take a 900 camera, zoom in, it appears. Because the boat moves past your angular resolution, the boat brings it back. It's easier.
Okay, show me. Okay, show me a video where where you reduce the amount of obstruction by zooming in more. Show me any video where that happens. Go ahead.
Again, says the boat is not visible to your naked eye. You take an optical camera, you zoom in, the boat comes back again.
Yeah, you're just repeating the same lie. I'm asking you to establish that this lie is true, and I've given you a way that you could do it, and you should be able to do it. We should be able to zoom in and have this obstruction reduced. Just repeating that it can be zoomed in on and it gets rid of the obstruction is a lie. Don't say it again, please. Establish it to be true in some way, or admit that you can't.
Both eye and a camera lens converge light. It's a function and a principle of how a lens and an aperture works.
Does it work on any scale?
It isn't privy or special or unique. When you take a camera zooming in, you're zooming in over straight lines because we live in Euclidean space.
Show us it then.
We don't live in a sphere. Okay, so gentlemen, I have an example for you to show.
Go ahead. Show us an example.
An example would be you take a P900 or a P1000 and we have it 50%. We have it 50% zoomed in. And the boat is half obstructed, and then we zoom in more, and then we get, less obstructed.
So you can understand how light works in a lens.
Don't tell us.
This is an example.
We don't want
you to take your camera and lay it on a flat.
I need you to show us.
We're not listening to this. I don't want to hear you say, if you do it this way, it will. The lie I'm telling you will happen. Prove that this lie is not a lie. It's a lie. Or admit that it's just a lie.
Again,
sounds like
take
you
the camera, lay it on the ground.
Show us the picture.
Go away.
Sounds like
there's no point.
Because they're giving us there's two totally different explanations now.
I know.
What are you so scared of? Listen, we've just that previous example. That previous example with Brandon on Ranty's show clearly proves atmospheric obstruction can hide bottom objects.
You're saying that there's two
now
causes.
what you're holding on to, which you still won't acknowledge, is it's an apparent. Listen, it's an apparent junction. In other words, it's based on optics. So a camera still has an apparent junction, just like an eye has an apparent junction. The difference is with a camera you have more lenses to bring in an optical zoom.
We all know
you have more lenses to bring in an optical zoom. Okay?
You're madder than a bag of bees.
Listen,
or you think
what matches reality, gentlemen? What matches reality is the apparent convergence.
Yeah, I know that
your calculator doesn't have
the question. That way you can respond to that.
Dude, we know what the stupid, idiotic, dishonest claim is, Data. Endlessly repeating it is not going to make it any more true or make anyone here accept it to be true. You would need to show some evidence that it's true. And all of the evidence shows that it's not true. We can't zoom in on things and bring them back into view. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the way that I'm asking for it, where we see it partially obstructed and then not obstructed, or partially obstructed and then more obstructed as you zoom out. You can't show me that because that doesn't happen. And just telling me it does over and over again isn't going to help. So please try some different line so I don't have to keep muting you to just stop you repeating the same shit over and over.
Maybe try answering my question.
I can show you, Jim, and I can correct
Go ahead, show us.
You are wrong, and I can correct you for your audience. I can actually educate your audience.
Now, show us.
Like again, you guys have already established.
Hang on. Why does you showing me something involve you talking? Show it. Let's see it. If you say you can show it, that's the claim you've just made. Let's see it. Sorry, Kosho, go ahead.
I've been trying to ask you this, man. I mean, because you're in here now presenting, this is a second presentation after if you're going to present it after Brendan's, and it sounded like you just said that his was good too. So you're just claiming that these are two different explanations that are both true for why things are obstructed instead of curvature. You're saying both of these things happen.
Listen, gentlemen, everything has to do with the angle of light coming off the object back to the eye. The medium it passes
just
through.
Repeating the
this
same
is why
thing
it's called an apparent junction.
Data, do you have anything to show us? Like you said you had. Can you actually show us this happening?
Can I show you the angle of your limitation converging in a point where objects move downwards? Yes, I can.
Can you show something?
You have to suspend your disbelief, gentlemen, just like
Can you show what Dem asked for?
right now.
Why can't you show us a video with a P900 or a P1000 which has live video?
Allow me to instruct you what to do, gentlemen.
I'm not going to allow you to do that. I'm not going to allow you to do. I'm not going to allow you to say you can take a camera and then. I'm not going to allow you to say that again because you've already said it 4 times and I've asked you not to keep repeating it. We know the claim. Endlessly repeating the claim is pointless. Now you can go ahead if you want, Jake. But Jake's saying, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, P900 or P1000's got a large zoom. It records live video as you zoom. You could have something on video as you're zoomed out and then zoom in on it. If this were true, it'd be very simple. You would show a boat that's obstructed, a cruise ship, oil tanker, fishing boat, whatever. That's, certain amount of it is obstructed at 50% zoom. And as you zoom in more, we should start seeing more and more of the whole. But we never ever see that. No amount of zoom changes how much is obstructed. Whether you're zoomed like very far out to where you can barely make out the boat or zoomed very far in, no more of that boat is obstructed or less. And it's very easy to do. Anybody with a P900 or P1000 would do it.
You guys, listen, your audience have to be really dumb. Listen, waves are like 7-8 feet in the ocean, right? So if you're thinking that you're going to film 3 miles out and there aren't going to be 6, 7, 8 foot waves 3 miles out, you guys are morons. The point is, my claim is this, gentlemen.
No, your claim was that you can bring things back into view. Now you're saying, oh, you can't do that because of waves. Which is true. Can you do it or not?
So,
yeah, and the claim that there's already 70-foot swells out there is ridiculous.
If we're standing at 50 mil lens on the P900, or even let's say just 24 mil, 50 mil is fine. We're standing there and we watch the boat move away. It would appear as the boat is moving into the horizon, which is understood to go over Earth curve. You can take that camera and now use the optical zoom since you're only sitting at 50 and zoom all happens. The boat comes into resolution. You can see the boat.
No, it doesn't. That's a lie. I'm going to leave you muted.
Oh, I actually had a question.
All right, well, go ahead and ask your question.
Well, I mean, what
he
he's
just
saying
wants
is...
to keep. He just wants to keep insisting the same
What
stupid lie and
is,
shit it over and over again.
Yeah, what he's saying is
clearly
true.
a lie.
I have seen videos where if you zoom it all the way back from 2,000 millimeters to 15 millimeters or whatever the effective focal length is for like a P900 at minimum zoom, you can be where the angular resolution of the boat is below that of the sensor, to where you kind of can't make out. It'll be like a smudge on the horizon, and you can't even make out what's out there. And then you zoom in on it, and then you're able to make out a boat.
I've seen it where it completely vanishes, where it's completely invisible.
Which is what he's talking about. What he's talking about. But what we're asking for is for one where you can see, by the time you get to 30 or 40% of that focal range, you should be able to see the boat. You can see how much is obstructed, and then as you zoom in further and see more detail, you should see more and more of that boat appear above the waterline. Now he's saying, oh, you can't do that because there's 70-foot swells, which is fucking ridiculous. Because, first of all, that's not always the case. 70-foot swells would be like pretty exceptional.
I think
you could go
7.
up.
And,
seven
and also,
foot?
it would, but that would affect
7
his
to
own
8.
observation that he's claiming is possible, wouldn't it? He's saying, I can bring things back into view. Well, the waves would affect that in the same way. And he's saying, oh, don't be stupid, you can't do that. And yet he's claiming you can do that in the same breath. Right, Data?
So listen, gentlemen, the other thing you have to acknowledge is that you have...
No, you listen. Respond to what I've just said. You've just claimed that we couldn't do what we're asking for because waves would get in the way. And at the same time, you're claiming you can bring a boat back into view. So which is it? Is it possible, or will waves get in the way? That's what you have to acknowledge.
So listen, you guys are not acknowledging at all what I'm saying. The point of the matter is that...
Okay, I'm going to give you one more chance to answer my question. If you don't answer it, if you just ignore it and say the same stupid shit again, I'm going to kick you. So it's up to you. If you want to continue this, you can. If not, I'm just going to boot you.
Dude, you can't bully me, man. Do what you want. The point is you have to listen to my argument and stop censoring me because you don't like what you hear.
And you have to listen to mine. And I've asked you this question several times, and each time I unmute you and you start saying, right, what you need to listen to me and you need to acknowledge this. We're totally ignoring the question. Now, you've said something contradictory. Is it possible to bring a boat back into view, or is it obstructed by 7-foot waves and always impossible? Which of these two statements is true? Please answer.
Now, don't mute me. Don't be a little princess and let me finish my statement.
No.
You've got angular limitations. Whether it's a camera's angular limitation or your eye, you have a limitation. The human eye sits around a 50 mil. As objects move away, they appear to move into the horizon and disappear. You can take a camera that has a higher optical zoom, 2000 millimeter, calculated 357 millimeter but with an optical digital zoom into it, it goes to 2000 millimeter. The point of the matter is that once it moves past the eye's limitation of angular resolution, appearing to go over the edge, it can be brought back in with a camera. This is a fact. This isn't a lie. Now, the other guy's example of talking about already being zoomed in, let's say 3/4 of the way, maybe 60% of the way, and seeing a boat obstructed, and therefore zooming in, and therefore he's going to reveal the boat. Meanwhile, stating that, not acknowledging the fact that the boat is out there already being hidden by the bottom of the boat by 5, 6, 7, 8-foot waves. But there's no way to determine the two. As stated by the previous gentleman earlier when I said, let me finish. I'm almost done. So thereby, you can use an example by putting a camera on the ground 4 feet, knowing by weather wave conditions, because you can look at the height of the wave, you can get the data of it, take your buddy's boat out and film that boat and notice it appeared to move over the edge. Now, I have already done this. I have a video on my channel called Parasailing Over the Edge. This is a real experiment you can do to prove that I have a parasailer above, looking, noticing miles and miles of flat level plain. But my camera on the ground supposedly is measuring earth curvature. It's all based on angle limitations. Now, listen, gentlemen, how do you determine if it's the curve of the earth or the height of the wave between the position of the observer and the object?
I can say
do that.
So you can't determine it.
So hold on a second.
Gentlemen, it's optical.
You find out what the height of the waves is. You look at the sea, and if there's big waves, you know there are big waves. And if there aren't, you know that there aren't. It's that fucking simple. And you've just described how you can check the wave height. Apparently it's possible for you to do it, but it's not possible for us to do it. What the fuck are you talking about?
Also, let's not forget that both
Did I say
Ranty.
that it was not possible for you to check waves? You've lost it.
Yes, you did.
You've lost your channel. You've just
you literally just said it's not possible to tell the difference between whether it's waves or obstruction from something else. You literally just said that, and that's the second time you said it.
Again, just to clarify, you wouldn't be able to determine the difference between it's a wave blocking the bottom of the boat or the earth curve. You get it straight.
Right. So again, of course we could. We could look at the surface of the ocean and see how wavy it was.
Let's not forget that Anthony Riley and Ranty took lots of P900 video from 30, 40, 50 feet up of these wind turbines that have a hub height of 350 feet, and yet the turbine is the hub of the turbine is at the obstruction.
Hey, I got a question for you. You use your earth curvature calculator, right? You've used it, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Not Jam. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the guy who was just speaking. Who's just speaking?
Jake. Jake is speaking.
You use an earth curve calculator, right? You use it, right? You try to compare to reality, but using it, right?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
What causes the ground to rise up into the center focal point position in the calculator? Earth curvature, or is it your eyesight that causes the ground to rise up?
What are you talking about?
Exactly. What am I talking about?
You're talking about perspective.
Shall we say it again? What are you talking about?
Hold on, Jam. Stop interrupting, bro.
You know when we say, what are you talking about? The response of, yes, what am I talking about? That doesn't help us know what you're talking about.
So Jake, Jake, you have an arc in your earth curvature calculator, right? Is that what you're saying perspective does, is arc the Earth?
No, perspective makes things makes things
what's the
disappear in the
difference?
vanishing point.
Yeah, yeah. So why is it showing an arc in your Earth curve calculator and not convergence perspective? Why is it
Because
conflating?
convergence is not able to obstruct objects. Because
Okay,
what
so
will
again,
converge to the naked eye will not converge when you increase
Listen,
magnification.
This is Jake. I have an experiment for you to do. Here, I have an experiment for you to do. So you understand there's a diffraction limit. It's the point of the angle of light being too acute to resolve and coming to a value.
Which is based on a limitation of the optics.
Let me finish. It's a vanishing point, gentlemen. Vanishing point is caused by the angle of light being
And the
too acute to
vanishing
resolve.
point is different
Let me
from my
finish.
telescope than it
Let
is
me
from my
finish.
naked
There's
eye.
no magnitude here, gentlemen. There's nothing measurable, nothing conjoining, nothing junctioning. It's an optical illusion, an optical effect, like taking a long hallway, putting two people at the end of the hallway. They can't see each other. Let me finish. But they can't see each other.
We know. So, mate, so I've got a challenge for you then, Data. What you need to do is produce a obstruction due to perspective calculator that we can use. You could take all the flat Earth observations that claim this to be true, including the ones that say a 1-inch coin is completely invisible at the end of a 3-foot table, and you can use those to create an equation that we can all use to see if this crap that you're coming out with bears any relation to reality. Do you reckon you can do that?
I already have a calculation for you guys.
Go ahead, let's see
I
it.
can already calculate it. There's many ways to do it.
Brilliant. Let's see it.
Many
How are you
formulas.
calculating it?
There's many formulas. What do you want to do?
Many
What do you wanna start
formulas.
with?
Can we
Yeah,
have
for
one
sure.
of them? What's your favorite one?
Well, you can take the square root of whatever height times it by 1.22.
Told you.
Oh my God.
That's me, dude. I'm the guy who brought this up. The 1.2.
Right, so I can use that.
Hold on. I have
I
another
can use it.
formula.
Hold on. I can use that calculation.
How about square root 6 of
Because that calculation predicts obstruction after 3 miles. So that doesn't account for the tabletop, does it?
Jim,
So your first equation's failed straight away. Do you have another one, since there are many?
Again, I'm talking about distances over a period of 3 to 10 miles. Okay.
Well, I'm not. I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the flat Earth claims that have been made on this subject.
Listen, here's the thing.
Most of which are over a few feet. Very few are over miles. Go ahead.
Jim, what you're doing is you're conflating and using flat Earth as a misnomer. Flat Earth is not perfectly flat. It's undulations, dude. So stop being a loser and using it as a misnomer.
Right. Yeah. The misnomer is pretending that the term flat Earth, which you have in your name, Mr. No Mountains and Valleys, means that the Earth has no mountains and valleys. The term flat Earth does not mean that. It has never meant that. It's never ever used in that way. There's a whole community of people on the internet who call themselves flat earthers. None of them mean that when they say flat Earth. The Flat Earth Society exists. They don't mean that when they say that. Nobody ever means that when they say that, except for you and Bev and Cleary, because you think it's a nice little word game that you can play to obfuscate from the argument that's actually on the table. So it's not a misnomer from me. It's a silly tactic from you. Thank you very much.
Again, a long time ago.
All this stuff is old. I've been repeating myself for over 3 years now, the same shit. The point is, you gentlemen are thinking the flat Earth, and it's a misnomer in your brain because you're thinking flat Earth doesn't have any undulations.
No, I'm not. That's bollocks. Again, flat Earth does not mean that. I thought I made that clear. Flat Earth does not mean that to me or anybody else, apart from you, Cleary, and Bev. You're the only 3 humans on Earth who take that meaning from the term flat Earth. Nobody else does. Nobody in this room does. Don't tell us that we do. We don't.
Your
argument is the basic idea that the Earth is perfectly flat. That's why objects can't be. Let me finish. No,
I won't let you finish.
Make quick
and I
points
told you
every day.
that's not true twice. That's not true. That is not our basic argument. You are wrong.
Excuse me.
Here's how I'll back it up. Michelle Thaler is in a video talking about how the Earth can be proven as a ball by taking a pair of and looking over
How is
both.
Michelle Fowler?
Which she says she's an astrophysicist, just as big as Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So
anyway,
what?
the point is, so she's the one teaching kids. Jim,
What
you
does
should be
this have
upset
to
about
do with
this
the
because
flat Earth?
if it's not true, you shouldn't like it either, right? So she has people going and saying that flat Earth is perfectly flat, and therefore it's not. It
So
can't be because
here's my
all objects would do. This is what she says. All objects will do is
you.
just get smaller and smaller and smaller before they went away. But you can tell it's curved because objects will go over the horizon, right?
So here's my question. Here's my question. We've got Ranty. We've got Ranty, and before him, Anthony Riley. They put out back in the day. They put out tons and tons of these videos and pictures of these wind turbines that are all along the shore in England being obstructed, like hundreds of feet of the turbine, where the hub of the turbine is in the water, and some of these videos they're like 30, 40 feet above the water. Okay, there's no 50-foot waves obstructing the 300-foot
I'm going to
pylon.
teach you something really, really simple. It's a real easy trick to
Data, because you didn't hear what he said, did you? You were talking most of the way through it. But have a go.
These images are from 30, 40 feet. So great, wonderful. Now listen, all optics are responsive to refraction, okay?
Single point, man, so we can address
Let me finish.
Oh, yeah, but
Just to understand my point, every apparent junction of every optical device is a limitation to distance. You're not going to see forever with it, okay? Number one, how do you determine that? Let me finish. How do you determine this? Just take a camera on the ground and zoom in. What you're going to notice is the ground is going to rise up into the camera, okay? Why is the ground rising up in the camera if it's perfectly flat and you're zooming out?
There's no fucking point.
I'll tell you why.
There's four people waiting to say something to you.
It's caused by refraction, gentlemen. The rising is caused by refraction. So the point is,
You're
limitation.
It actually has to do with the angle at which the perspective of the camera
realize
is.
It's in a cone vision, right?
If you zoom in on a camera that is not actually
the image going into a camera is
it will not actually rise up.
Do you realize
you are making a claim and trying to perform that.
Do you realize the image
mentally
is cone
this.
Can I butt in for a minute, please?
Because you're still not actually addressing it about the 7-foot waves. The 7-foot waves, how wide are they? Are they wide enough to
how wide are waves?
Because that actually be addressing your claim about, waves are actually obstructing the entirety of a very long boat.
Sideshow, brother. Sideshow. Let Waz give his information.
I just got some information from the clip named Pebble in the Pond who made the video. He said the inside temperature was between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius and the outside temperature was -5.
Great.
So that's close to 25 degrees Celsius difference when he opens the door. And he used a Nikon D3200 with a 32mm zoom lens and it was at full zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Waz. And I was going to address those waves as well, so I don't know if Cabows wants to I'll just say this very quickly because I don't want to follow up with it. I'm just saying that the waves that what you said about the waves, like, oh, well, that could be waves, and so you know that would just explain it away. That's not an excuse. That's
Again,
not. That's
I said, how do you tell the difference?
Don't.
How do you tell the difference? How do you measure the difference between a roller and a wave?
No. I'm only gonna say this one. I'm only gonna say this one time. I'm not gonna fucking follow up with it. So let me fucking finish. You gab on for fucking ever, dude. Anyway, your fucking excuse before was, oh, how could you tell the difference between this or this? That wouldn't fucking matter. If I was a fucking flat earther and I thought that the excuse could be what you said about the optical fucking bullshit and that sometimes you should be able to zoom in and you should be able to bring it back, then I would do it fucking 100 times. Right? And every single time I would look and say, okay, well, that didn't come back. So that could be the 7-foot waves. Oh, that didn't come back. 7-foot waves. One of those fucking times you would imagine that it would be the time where it's not a 7-foot wave. It's actually the thing that you're fucking saying. In which case you would have captured it and you can present it. So it's not a fucking useful excuse, man.
Really isn't. There are calm days. Simple as that.
Exactly, gentlemen. Here's the best.
There are windless days on giant waves.
Okay. There are calm days. I unmute him and he goes, exactly, gentlemen. I mean, your argument is that we can't tell the difference because there could be 7-foot waves. And then when we point out that there are calm days, your response to that is exactly, gentlemen. That totally refutes what you've just said. And this is why this is a very annoying not conversation, because we're saying stuff and you're just not acknowledging it in any way and then telling us we need to acknowledge what you're saying. I mean, how do you deal with that? Waves are no longer an excuse. So what are you going to do now, apart from just say, exactly, you've completely refuted me and I'm right? Go ahead.
You didn't refute anything. What you just don't acknowledge and seem to have difficulty and struggle with is acknowledging angles of limitation. The wave is a possibility. The question was, how do you determine if it's earth curve or the wave obstructing the bottom? Your answer, well, there's clear days. Okay, if there's clear days,
can we look at the ocean?
There's clear days, therefore it equals clear days equal obstruction of the boat. That's what you're saying? Again, you're not acknowledging.
No, can we look at the ocean? Here's a question. Answer this question. Can we look at the ocean and determine if there are large waves on it or almost no waves on it? Is it possible that we could experience and recognize those two ocean conditions? Please just answer that question.
Again, they're relative to the distance and the angle. You can have a 10-foot person and a 5-foot wave. It'd be fine. You could have a 4-foot person.
That isn't my question. That isn't my question.
The point is, gentlemen.
No, that isn't my question. This is my question again. I'll have another go, okay? Can we recognize the difference between a calm ocean with almost no waves and an ocean with waves, just by looking at it? Can we recognize that? Please just answer that question.
Your rhetorical question is retarded. The point is, again, it's relative to angle.
Right. It's not a rhetorical question. I'm asking you the question. I've repeated it to you. Why would I repeat a rhetorical question? What is the answer to the question? Can we recognize the difference between a wavy ocean that's rough and choppy and one that's calm and has almost no waves? Simple. Yes or no?
Can you recognize the difference?
The difference.
The bottom of the boat being obscured by waves or earth?
No, that's your answer. You're asking a question. Answer my question. Please.
If there's no waves, can the waves
all I
obscure the
know
boat?
is objects can be obscured bottom up due to refraction and angular resolution. Yes.
I'll address that.
I didn't ask you about what you knew about objects being obstructed by refraction. I asked you if you can recognize the difference between an ocean with lots of or high waves on it and an ocean that's very calm and has almost no waves on it. Can you answer that question?
Both scenarios are subjected to angular resolution and refraction, gentlemen.
Regardless of that,
because
regardless of refraction, just looking at the ocean, can we recognize the difference between an ocean with waves and an ocean that's calm? Not refraction, nothing to do with refraction. It's just all there is in our mind is ocean. We're looking at the ocean. On one day there's waves on it, on another day there aren't. Can we tell the difference? That's it. You don't need to speak about refraction. Go ahead.
Eliminating variables.
Can you?
No, you're asking a question. I've asked you a question. Answer my question. Sorry, guys. Sorry to do this, but all you got to do is answer that question. Can you recognize
Jim.
Yeah, in all fairness, it's a rhetorical question. It's an asinine question. The point of
the again, for the second time, it's not a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is one that is asked and doesn't require an answer. It is not a rhetorical question. This question does require an answer. Let me make this clear. This question requires an answer. Whether you believe it's asinine, whether you, for some reason, are confused and think that the question I have told you 3 times is not rhetorical, is rhetorical, I don't care. It's not rhetorical. Please answer my question. And the answer to this question will not be a question. It will be an answer.
Without optics of the environment, you can't determine either. You need optics to determine either.
Really?
I'll ask a question.
Hold on. What do you mean by optics of the environment? What does that mean?
So we need optics to observe the environment. Without using optics, we wouldn't be able to determine
Okay, the optics in this example are your eyes. Using your eyes, can you look at the ocean and determine if it's calm or choppy with waves? Using only your eyes. Go ahead.
Are we determining if it's calm at a certain distance between 2 points? Or are we assuming that it's calm between all points? Because I don't think by optics...
we're assuming...
I don't think by optics alone...
We're assuming that the ocean condition... We're assuming that the ocean condition is the same where we can see it. So anywhere that we can see the ocean condition, we're assessing its condition. So anywhere you choose to look in this imaginary ocean that we're seeing in front of us, can you determine what is happening in terms of waves in that bit of ocean that you're looking at?
Well, on a windy day, it would be indicative of larger waves. So that would be one way of knowing that there is larger waves without actually looking.
Okay, so let's say you're in a little shelter on the beach and you have no input on what the wind is doing whatsoever. You're just looking at the ocean. I don't really know why I'm putting it this way, but just so we're not confused in any way, can we look at the ocean and determine if it's wavy or not?
Well, of course you could. It doesn't mean that you can determine the difference between the boat being blocked by atmosphere refraction,
we got there in the end.
Wave, or earth current, because it's all based on optics.
But according to you, 10 minutes ago, we couldn't tell that. That's something we just can't know if it's wavy or not, is what you said.
I didn't say that at all, dude. Once again, you're putting words in my mouth that aren't true.
The
point is, gentlemen, there's angles to limitations to your eye. The convergence point is based on perspective. Nowhere in your calculation.
Right, so waves aren't an issue.
Nowhere you're doing it. So what you do is you run to the same thing as you always do.
Well, you ran to waves, didn't you? And now it seems that you're saying that waves aren't an issue because we can look out at the ocean, we can see if waves are likely to be causing an obstruction or not. And if the ocean's calm, we know that it's not down to the waves. Contrary to what you previously claimed, right? We're agreed on that now. Waves are no longer in this conversation. Because we know when it's wavy and when it's not. So we're not going to be confused about obstruction caused by waves, are we?
Again, you don't know what's blocking the bottom of the boat, whether it's refraction or the waves is the point. And how...
All right, well, I do because I can tell if it's a calm day with no waves. And you can too, because you've just admitted it, right? So I do know that. That's not true, is it?
Again, let's listen to what your truths are. Your truths are saying that we have to not talk about waves being the covering of the bottom of the boats because we can look at a calm day. This is your argument. The point is, gentlemen, is that waves and angles and refraction and atmosphere have a lot to do with how objects disappear.
However, on a calm day, waves don't, do they? They wouldn't play a part. On a calm day where there are little to no waves, they would not play a part in these sort of observations.
Hey, Jim, can I ask a question?
Again,
yeah, please do.
Again, you just like muting me. For a second. Again, the ground appears to rise. We know it doesn't. This is an optical effect. There's a limitation to that optical effect of appearing to rise.
Yeah, but what's that going to do with waves? I asked you about waves, though. I asked you about waves, and you've gone back to refraction. I'll have one less go, Zalek.
Okay, I promise. Don't unmute him for a second, because I'll just talk over.
So you have, because you seem to be going back on what we've just agreed. You're now saying again that we don't know. The waves are going to be playing a part somewhere, and we just won't be able to tell if they're playing a part. And I thought we had agreed that we could look out and tell if waves were playing a part. We could see how high the waves are and draw a conclusion that they would or would not be high enough to obstruct the object that we're looking at.
How about asking how much?
That would be partially true if you disavowed the fact that the ground is rising based on perspective.
We're not dealing with that. All we're talking about is waves.
Always discount it. Jem, why doesn't...
No, we don't have to discount it. I'm not arguing about that. All I'm arguing about is waves. And all you had to do was say, yes, we can recognize big and small, a car motion and a not car motion. But you were desperate not to admit to that because you know you'd have to then strike waves off your list of things that could be causing a problem. I'm sorry, Zanik. Please go ahead.
Yeah, don't unmute him.
Again, I'm not striking waves off. You guys are. You guys are the ones. Stop projecting, Jem. You're the one who's discounting waves as an option.
Thank you. So, Jem, what I was going to ask you to ask him would be what effect would a 5-foot wave have on the object, say 6 miles away, if the wave was 5 foot at 3 miles away? Now, that question addresses several points that both of you made here. So 5-foot wave, you see, say you see calm water and it goes around a little point and suddenly there's more wind out there and there's some waves, I don't think they're rolling waves, just probably white caps and things, but say they're really big ones and they're 5 feet high. How much does a 5-foot wave obscure if it's 3 miles away with something that is 6 miles away?